Hey guys, this is Wes with Dirt Concepts. So today got a kind of an interesting video for you. So it's winter time right now, off season for A-scale racing. So I have both my Mugen MBX8Rs here. I have my Eco and my Nitro Buggy right here. So I've had both of these kits for about 2 years. The one thing I can say about the Mugen Seiki A-scale platforms, they wear very, very slowly. So this is actually pretty much the parts that I've had on these since I built the kits. I've done some maintenance things like replacing gaskets and O-rings and the drive shaft pins and bearings and stuff like that, like fuel tubing, just the typical stuff that you would do for any A-scale buggy or truggy. But outside of that, as far as the plastics go, these are pretty much the plastics that I've had on these buggies for the past 2 years. So anyway, we'll talk about some of the things I replaced on them now that it's been a couple years in, and that way I can extend the lifespan of the vehicles. And yeah, so let's get started. All right, so the first package I have up here is actually a package that I got back from Adam Drake. So many of you may know, the Drake Racing has a service for your engines. So if you race any nitro class, obviously during the off season is a good time to do any engine maintenance. So actually what I did is I sent my engine to Adam to have the sleeve pinched in it. So it's actually the first pinch for my ProTech RM.1. So let's open the box and take a look. My box right here. And a few other things. Alright. Put that aside and see what we got here. So since I was placed an order, I figured it was a good time. Go ahead and get some Drake Racing after run oil. It's always good to have this, especially here in Missouri. Well, anywhere really in the Midwest during the summer, it can get kind of humid. So by kind of, I mean very humid. So anyway, let's crack this baby open and take a look. So as I said, I sent my engine to Adam Drake. I do this every off season. I'll send my engine somewhere, usually to Drake. So anyway, get it back, and oh yeah, you can feel it was pinched. So he pinched my sleeve in here, as well as replaced the bearings, and then just inspected the engine, returned it back to a factory or recommended settings, at least on the carburetor. So anyway, thanks Drake Racing, Adam Drake, and I'm sure this thing's going to be a ripper next season. So on to the next box. All right, next package is from Mugen Seiki Racing. So let's go ahead and open it up. All right, so let's take a look at what came in the Mugen Seiki package. So, there we go. Get the packing out of there. So, I like how they always package everything when they send you. It's always in separate bags by, part family. So, first bag here is all right. So, you got two of everything, obviously, because I'm rebuilding 2 buggies. So first thing is your suspension bushings. You'll want to replace those. That's where the hinge pins go in, and it's your fill inserts. So next thing is the shock mount bushings. These are the upper mount bushings. They're made out of plastic, so just for having a smooth shock action. Mine are definitely worn out in the little beads, so time to replace them. Next thing is rear hubs, just the plastic part. The carbon fiber parts are good, as well as all the screws and stuff. So if you notice over time, you might get a rear bearing that seizes up or something, and just slowly over time, where the bearing presses into the plastic, it may not as get a tight of a fit. So it's like I said, it's been 2 seasons on these hub carriers, so time to replace them. next thing is shock ends. So these also come with the cups, which I don't think is totally necessary to get, but the shock ends, yes, especially from rebuilding your shocks a lot, unthreading, rethreading those shock eyelets, you know, over 2 years, they get pretty worn out. So good to replace those. That way you don't accidentally pull a shock end out in the middle of a race. So you don't want that to happen. So on to the next bag. All right, time for the next bag. And let's go ahead and get this thing opened up. All right, what do we have? To the side, there you go. All right, first thing is this is really some drivetrain stuff and a few other things in here, suspension stuff. So in here we have the center shaft. This is the long shaft. So I've actually found that these pins, they're pressed in, they're so tight that it's just really difficult to get them in and out. It's just easier just to buy the replacement ones. And then for my outer drive shaft pins, I'll go ahead and replace those using the pin replacement tool. So anyway, good to have these. Mine are getting definitely worn out, especially on the Nitro Buggy. I think it's just the vibrations that do that, chew up those pins. So next thing is, oh, definitely good to have for a Mugen, especially if you're running the universal drive shafts. So these are 8x16x5 bearings. Nice part is these buggies use almost entirely one bearing size. Pretty awesome. So I got 30 of them. That way, stock up on them, they'll last me a long time. So I like to use the Mugen bearings, the greased ones with the dual rubber shield, so they tend to last a long time and they're very durable. Next thing is a new fuel tank. So mine's not necessarily like totally worn out, but I do know that like the gasket here on the top of the cap is getting really loose, and then I'm having a tough time keeping my fitting all the way tight in there. You know, it's 2 years old, so it's seen a lot of abuse, so figured it's best just to replace one. That way I don't have any leaks next season. New front bumper. Mine are pretty tore up, obviously from racing a lot, and especially the sides and the bottom get kind of chewed up over time, so time to replace those. I said the rear center drive shafts. Well, here's the front center drive shaft. Same deal. It's difficult to remove these pins with the tools, so I just go ahead and replace them. It's a lot easier to do that than to fight them. Here we have rod ends for the rear. So these are just some of the rod links for the turnbuckles, and these are the camber links actually. We have S6 O-rings. So these are differential O-rings. So mine are pretty old. I actually don't replace them that often. I mean, unless they're leaking, I don't replace them. So the medium ones last a really long time if you take care of them. So anyway, they're pretty old, so figured full refresh, we'll go ahead and replace them. We have a few more things here in this package. Next thing is, these are the steering turnbuckle end links. Again, I'm gonna replace all those end links. I think that's a good idea to do. Probably, I don't know if you need to do them every season, but definitely every other season. It depends how much you run and your type of dirt. If it's really sandy, you're gonna have to do it every year. Shock O-rings, definitely must have for the winter season to replace those. So, on to the next bag. All right, this one's probably the biggest bag. This one's got a litany of different stuff in here, a lot of suspension plastic related stuff. So anyway, let's take a look and see what we got inside. All right, empty it out. Okay, first thing on the list, not only the bushings for the front pill ball uprights, but the front pill ball uprights themselves. So mine are definitely not as smooth inside, so I imagine it probably doesn't repel dirt as well now that they're pretty worn out. So time to replace them. Mine are 2 years old. Same thing with like the suspension arms. I have front and rear arms, upper and lower. So here's your upper front arms, here's your lower front arms, and then here's the rear arms. Mine have literally 2 full seasons on them. I've never even broken one before. So, but they're definitely pretty clapped out, and it's time to replace them. So on to the next bag. All right, on to the very last bag here. And there's still some more stuff coming in the mail, so I don't have everything here, but this is definitely a big one here. So what we have are 2 brand spanking new chassis. One's for a nitro buggy and one is for the e-buggy. So as I said, I'm on the original kit chassis right now. So 2 years of hard racing on them, a lot of laps. And mine are just getting pretty thin, especially at the front where the kick-up is, and then also in the rear. And, you know, I don't trust them when they get to a certain thickness point. So for A-scale racing, chassis actually are considered a wear item. So when your chassis gets really, really thin like that, it's a good idea to go ahead and replace them. You know, there's a couple reasons. You know, obviously you don't want it to break in the middle of a race if you have a hard impact. I have seen them break in half before, especially at the front kick up here. It also, you can cut yourself working on it, especially in the back, because they get really sharp when they're thin. But it also messes like the chassis flex characteristics and just some other things. So it's just a good idea to replace these whenever they get super thin. So depending on how much wear your track has, it could be a season, it could be 3 seasons, or it could be even longer than that, depending on how much you run. So anyway, something to always keep in mind. So in addition to just the parts types of items, some of the other things that I'll do, you know, during the off season, I'll go ahead and replace the wings. So what I have on order actually is just 2 J Concepts Lexan wings. So they're the Razor style wings, so they work really well, at least at all the tracks that I've been to. So I'm gonna go ahead and run those. I already run the J Concepts front nose cone. I will be getting a tire order in from J Concepts, so look for that soon. We might do an unboxing. Yeah, and then also last thing, Boom Graphics, working with them, getting some new stickers made and graphics, you know, to wear at the races and just to have, you know, on the bodies of my buggies. So that's usually what I do, you know, during the off season. So now the fun begins. Got to go ahead and rip all these things apart and go through all of them and replace, you know, a lot of the plastics on the buggies and get them back in race ready condition. So here we go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and it helps you guys out during the off season, so you kind of know what to get and be prepared for the next racing season. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.